Hi, and welcome to Hull & Hull TV. I'm Susanna Popovic-Montag, the managing partner of Hull & Hull, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Jennifer Hartman and Ian Hull. Jen is a medical legal consultant and a frequent blogger at Hull & Hull. She also is a frequent writer on traumatic brain injuries. Ian is our co-founding partner and a very good friend of mine. We are very pleased to be here to discuss the issue of organ donation, something that at Hull & Hull we are very proud to be very active and involved in, and very much protagonists and proponents of, big supporters in that sense. Ian, that is of course thanks to you. How exactly did you get involved in this?
Well, I think it was a team effort, and when I approached you to engage in what is an opportunity for at two levels. One, as a lawyer, this is an issue that our clients do raise with us, and the more knowledge we have when they put the issue to us, the better we are going to be able to service them. And this is one of those things that is on my checklist now. And whether it's raised by the client directly or indirectly, I make sure that we've canvassed that issue because it is an important part of any estate plan. And secondly, I've had some personal exposure to two good friends, one who passed away, unfortunately, and his death notice was the family proudly announced that he had donated his organs, and he died very young, and it was a tremendous thing for the family to celebrate with. And another good friend of mine who did get an organ donation, and I learned a little bit about how important it is to get some more traction on what this issue is about for Ontario and for Canadians. So I had a bit of a personal and a legal angle to it.
Turning to then, Jen, the legal framework, can you tell us a little bit about it from your perspective?
Absolutely. In Ontario, what we have is an opt-in framework, otherwise known as an express consent framework. And what that is defined by is a specific mechanism to opt in to the system of organ donation. So in Ontario, you have to physically go online and register as a donor on beadonor.ca in order to be included in the donor pool. In other jurisdictions, particularly in Europe, we've got Spain, Luxembourg, Portugal, Austria, and other countries soon, Wales in 2015. They have what's called a presumed consent framework in which the organs and tissues are essentially considered property of the state until such time as you actively opt out of having your organs donated. So it's very contrasting systems, obviously, pretty much polar opposites in terms of the legal framework. Nova Scotia is undergoing a formal public consultation process right now to suss out interest amongst their residents, to see basically a sniff test to see how the residents will tolerate consideration of moving from an express consent framework to a presumed consent framework. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out across Canada over time, whether other provinces will adopt that kind of framework. I'm not sure it'll have good uptake. We're very protective of our civil liberties, so we'll see what happens.
And Ian, with your experience and your involvement with beadonor.ca, have you got any sense of the statistics of how many people are actually participating?
Well, I think unfortunately in the GTA area it's very low. It's a low percentage, and in the outlying GTA it's a little higher. But it's in terms of the numbers of donors, it's a chronic problem because the lists are endlessly waiting, and large in terms of the wait list. And I think from my perspective anyway, and picking up on what Jen's touching on too, the inquiry into whether or not we should have this sort of express consent, the opt-in or not, is important for me to make sure that I'm staying on top of that for my clients, because if we are leaning toward, like the assisted suicide, if there is a movement towards that and government starts to take an active role in making that decision for us, and there is an exit strategy, I want to make sure that I've canvassed that with my clients and considered it. It's actually a very easy thing to do in Ontario to opt in the sense that although it is an event, you have to go online, you need your social insurance number and 30 seconds, and you can lock down the decision, and you can also amend the decision and change it. You're not stuck for life with that choice. In the last part of it as a lawyer, as I like to do, is it gives me an opportunity to say to my clients, look, you're always looking for ways to get communicating better with your kids. and talking about your estate plan. Well, here's a nice segue into a broader discussion, but an opportunity to say to them, look, you know what, I just want you to know in terms of my estate plan, I'm going to be doing this. I've decided I'd like to opt in, and maybe we should spend some time talking about what we're going to do about my estate plan as I go forward, and maybe I can talk that through with you. Again, opportunities to communicate are always good. And that's a big part of a global estate plan. So I see so many benefits, obviously the tangible benefits of bringing this issue to the table with our clients, but also a global estate planning benefit to raising it.
That conversation that Ian was mentioning in terms of a potential donor having that discussion with their family is very critical. I was quite surprised to read an article recently in the Globe and Mail that indicated that 10% of families at the time of death will veto their loved one's wish to have their organs donated. And oftentimes that's a function of that lack of communication, that conversation that didn't take place beforehand when mom was in palliative care or whatever the case is. When that discussion takes place, families are more apt to say, yes, this is what they wanted. I'm prepared for this, because it is an emotional decision. As you mentioned with the assisted suicide, there's a lot of emotions built up at that moment in time. The more conversation you have beforehand, the better.
I think that's exactly the message we can take from this, the importance of communication so that people know and hopefully will respect and implement your wishes at the end of the day. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Jen, and thank you, Ian, and thank you for watching Hull and Hull TV.